How you guys doing? This is Cody with the Blue Chip Podcast by fans for fans. It's your host Cody Potter. How y'all doing today, man? We're going to go over this week zero. We got quite a few players that we're going to mention. We're going to talk about. We'll show you a couple clips and things like that just to get this thing going. Lots of excitement from week zero, man. I was really impressed with these games, man. The first game we're going to talk about is this game that's showing right now, the Fresno State Kansas game. Jalen Daniels, man, I highlighted him a ton. Looked really good. The other player was Bengali Kamara from this game, and then Cam Pickett, the wide receiver, number 7 for Kansas. Man, these guys looked really good in their games. Man, all of them. Bengali Kamara is not a guy that I don't think is coming out this year. I think he's a underclassman. Cam Pickett is a wide receiver that I think has somewhere from between round 4 to round 2 grades, just from right now, but he could completely elevate that this year. I mean, he looked really good. And all these players that I'm highlighting, man, these aren't all the players that looked, that were killing it this week, so don't hold me to it. There were guys from Fresno State that looked really good. Their corner, some of their linemen, their running back looked effective. Fresno State they could not keep the momentum going. They started off the game really good, but they could not maintain momentum. Shot themselves in the foot quite a few times. Their wide receiver, number 5, Jeremiah Freeman, man, he's a really good player. So again, just because I'm not highlighting these players doesn't mean that they didn't really stand out. But when I'm scouting, when I'm watching these guys on tape, I highlight players based off of how effective they are. Are they doing good things? Like when they make a premier level play, I put a line over top of a tally. When they make a superstar level play, I put a star over top of their player. And then the more tallies that you accrue over the course of the game. I watch all these games multiple times. The first time I watch it, I really use my tally system. That's what I like to do. And that's how I keep these names going. And then over the course of the week, once I've watched the game a couple times, I already know the systems that they play in. I start doing my reports like that. And that's how I really have these guys collectively adding up over the course of the season through my draft grades and things like that, which is, it just takes time. It really does. It takes time. I have to watch these games 4 and 5 times. It's really hard doing it by myself, watching all these players. I don't grade a ton of players because some of them I'm only really looking for certain teams, certain fits. Are they scheme diverse? I add them into my reports because I really like them. I'm not grading 600 players. I used to. I don't do it anymore. It's just it's not even efficient for trying to do it. I don't have the time in my life. But again, man, this was a really good game. The Fresno State score doesn't really isn't really indicative into that. But Fresno State, just like I said, man, they couldn't capitalize on certain moments. Every time that they started to gain momentum, they would stall out drives in the red zone. But Kansas Kansas' offensive line looked really good. I could have highlighted every player on their offensive line. I think their right guard is probably the best player on their offensive line. Center played really good, picking up the calls. I think Jalen Daniels has a real future in the NFL, even though I think he's probably capped at like a 3rd round pick just because of his height and certain things like that. But the boy can play. And I think Kansas has a chance to make some noise in their division this year in their conference in college football. But it really is indicative on how far Jalen Daniels can take them. Can he stay healthy and things like that? Bengali Kamara, man, coming off the edge. Like I said, he's a 3-4 outside linebacker predominantly the way that they use him for the rush. They do run some 4-3 and they rush him that way too. But that's what he is. He's an edge player. He's a dynamic. He's got burst. He's got good hand play for a guy that's, got his experience level. We're going to be stacking him for years to come in Kansas, and we're going to see how his scouting report grows over time. Because technically, man, this guy is a very effective football player, man. He's very bright. There's a lot of players that we're going to shout out today, and man, honestly, the games were really good. The first game was probably the worst game, honestly, but they were, it depended for viewership and things like that. But for me as a scout, I really liked it. I talked about it going into the game, that the Iowa State Kansas State game, some people call it the Farm Bowl because just because where they are in the country. Either way, like I said, it was a defensive matchup for me. A couple players that I highlighted was number 3, the Iowa State cornerback Williams. I had highlighted Dominique Orange, number 95, the defensive tackle from Iowa State. Austin Romaine, the linebacker from Kansas State, number 45. Matthew. There were a couple other players that I didn't necessarily highlight that stood out. There was a freshman player from last year that I was like very, very curious about. I didn't highlight him, but Marcus Neal Jr., he stood out in that game as well. And then Toby, sorry, I'm going to chop this up, but his name is Toby Asun Sanami. Okay, I know I chopped it. I know I butchered it. Number 44 from Kansas State. Really, really good player. Honestly, I think he's the highest graded player that I had from the game was the edge from Kansas State. He needs a little bit of work in the run game department, but as a pass rusher, solely right now, he could come in the league right now and rush the passer in the NFL. He has really, really good hand usage, really, really good bend and dip coming off the corner. I think he needs a second move, some kind of like inside, outside in type of move, a counter kind of thing. Maybe adding a swim, things like that. But like I said, the way that he uses his hands and his length and everything like that, he's very, very good. Number 44 for Kansas State was my highest graded player from that game. And it wasn't by much. Marcus Neal Jr., the Iowa State safety, was my second highest graded player in the whole game. Dude, this dude plays like a linebacker from the strong safety spot. I think he could. I mean, he's a nickel player. He can cover. He's the type of player that I love. He's always the type of player that jumps out to me on tape because he's all over the field. Just everything, man. Shooting the gaps in the run game, tackles behind the line in the run game. Screen game, he's blowing it up. The box game, 10 intermediate, to short level passes, he's blowing it up. He's just all over the field, man. And players like this that are really instinctive that could play probably outside linebacker or strong safety. They got that kind of build and the skill set to do both of those things. They always stand out in tape. And then the other player, like I said, that I had shouted out before this game was Dominique Orange, the defensive tackle number 95, man. They call him the Big Citrus. 95 He is a big run gap filling defensive tackle. He can two gap it. He can one gap it. When he one gaps it, he can get after the quarterback and rush the passer in those kind of sets. He's athletic enough to pull and do things like that in the NFL. So I mean, honestly, he has really, really good measurables and things like that. And on tape, he jumps out. He has a pretty good first step for a man his size. He's going to be drafted in the first 3 frames in the NFL draft. And honestly, like if he continues to look like he did this week and show a little bit more consistency, in the NFL, he's probably going to get a little bit more spelled. He played a lot of snaps in this game. And, sometimes you get a little bit worn out, tired. You're a guy that big. You're looking for things like that. But in the NFL, coming in off a rotation, man, that guy could be really, really effective. Staying fresh and keeping him healthy. Other things that I was really, really impressed with in that game was just honestly, man, like there was some momentum picked up by Avery Johnson. He needs a little bit more work from me, man. Every time, like, dude, when they need a play, he picks it up, man. He's a big time player. He makes good plays when you really, really need it. But like the consistency for Avery Johnson with Kansas State was the thing that I was worried about. I think he is an overall better quarterback than the quarterback play that you're getting from Beck over there at Iowa State, but Beck was more consistent in a raining game, nasty weather. Those things make the difference, man. So, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, man. That's where consistency matters when you're playing in, college football in a rainy game. You got to be able to step up and make the plays when they're available to you. And I felt like Iowa State did it better, and that's why they were the more effective team in this game. Then another game that I was really, 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 really cool with talking about. I didn't highlight as many players on this list that than probably what I'm about to talk about, but the Western Kentucky Sam Houston State game, number 7, the cornerback for Sam Houston State, I didn't highlight him enough because I just felt like there were a couple things, lapses in coverage and things like that. Of course, it's the first play that we're showing. I could have highlighted probably all 4 receivers from Western Kentucky in this game, but I only highlighted number 3, Matthew Henry Jr. Dude, this guy has game-breaking speed. I think he's going to be a guy that gets drafted higher than maybe what his school and conference says that he should. Because Conference USA doesn't typically put out, third-round prospects. But this guy, the way he's running on tape, if he tests that well, if he gets an invite, the type of invite, maybe he goes to the East-West Shrine game that gets invited to the Senior Bowl, things like that. Things can really move up for this type of player, man. He has electric speed, and I would not be surprised to see this guy in bowl seasons producing, because this guy does really well on tape. But honestly, all four of the wide receivers at Sam Houston State looked really, really good. But they throw the ball around, and their quarterback really, really knows how. He was looking really, really good this year as far as not forcing the ball compared to things that I saw from him last year. Western Kentucky is going to play up on teams this year, man. They're not going to be an easy out for the matchups that teams are, from bigger conferences are playing these guys. These guys are going to give them a fit. Western Kentucky's defense even improved a little bit from last year that I thought. Sam Houston State's defense was the strength of their team moving in. I think their quarterback play was pretty good in that game. But again, Western Kentucky was just a team that I definitely highlighted quite a few players, man. Like I said, their cornerback number 7, he hits very well. The linebacker number 6, I gave him a couple superstar plays because he is the tone setter for Sam Houston State and their defense. But man, honestly, like if I go back to just looking real quick at my highlights, man, wide receiver number 5, I had him highlighted for 7 plays for Western Kentucky. Halfback freshman number 21. This guy, his last name is Parrish. This guy is going to be very, very effective going forward. Wide receiver 17 had a big time play, highlighted over top of a tally. Wide receiver number 2, 5 tallies. Like, it's just the offense that Western Kentucky plays in. They're spreading the ball out. Their quarterback play is looking really, really good. It was a nice back and forth matchup, man. Western Kentucky, like I said, they're going to be a tough out for certain teams this year, and that's really what I took away from week 0, man. Was really, really happy with the product on the field, man. Hawaii even gave Stanford the business. I kind of said that before in my game time preview. I didn't think they were going to beat them, but they did. And Hawaii's defense on the back end, they made the plays when it really, really mattered the most. The quarterback play stood out. It didn't start off very good for Hawaii, but they ended the game when it mattered most. Kicked a field goal, won the game. I think Stanford is just going through a lot of transition right now. They do have Andrew Luck. They have Frank Wright, kind of like temporarily fixing things like that. I think Andrew Luck is their GM. They will ultimately get Stanford right, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time. Hawaii really, really, really did, they took momentum back after a rough start, and that's what you love to see from the game. They capitalized on a bunch of things. They made some turnovers, some mistakes like that, and they capitalized off of them. The defense, the back end of that defense in Hawaii, somebody that I had highlighted. Honestly, all 3 of their safeties, because they have a nickel safety that plays corner as well. They all played really, really good. I could have highlighted all 3 of them. So again, Week 0 was awesome, man. I got quite a few more pods coming at you from Commanders coverage week 1 for college football, preview, thing like that. We'll talk about some matchups and some teams, some players that we're going to look forward to highlighting. 95 games, man, from Thursday on to Monday, so I got quite a bit of work to do going on those, just breaking them down, so the pods are going to be freaking sporadic and things like that. They might just be 5-minute clips on each game, things like that, but again, man, thank you guys for checking out the Blue Chip Podcast. Week 1 is on the way, so I'll be doing some breakdowns and things like that, some previews. Commanders news always going to be coming at you. Terry re-signed, we talked about that, but we'll get into more things like that as the season comes along. But yeah, college football is full steam ahead, so we're on to the notes, we're on to the scouting. So again, thank you guys for checking out the Blue Chip Podcast. By fans, for fans, this is your host, Cody Potter. Have a blessed day. Peace.